Okay, we're live. Just give it a few minutes. It's Saturday the 26th of March, 1:20 UK time. So we're just going to, probably everyone's out shopping or enjoying the glorious weather, but we'll just wait a few minutes before people are coming on. So today, or now, we're going to have a discussion with Bob, also known as Robert White, and we're going to talk about his victory over the court case against Crown Prosecution. And so we're going to get Bob's story out. Hi everyone. So I'm going to turn the camera around to Bob, who's enjoying a victory drink and chilling in his house, and let him take over and explain how he got to the point that he got to, and you know how he managed to win with the support of friends. Right, hey Bob. Right. You are now live.
We've just got to get Reg out of the room.
Just going to get, actually, yeah, we've got a very big dog here. Just going to get him out and then he's going. As you can see, Bob is a very happy man. Sitting in his home, which, by the way, he was meant to have been evicted from how many years ago?
Well, it all started in 2018. I was evicted in February 2019 by the police, unlawfully, as has been proved. 2 months later, 2 months after, I got back in, and I've been in there ever since. I've been back in 3 years.
Oh wow, yeah.
And I've had no problems with the police or anyone trying to take it back again.
So, when did this, how and when did this all start for you? Because this can happen to anyone,
yeah,
and no one ever expects it to happen to them. And your story, you know, is going to have an impact with a lot of people that are struggling right now. So I think it's brilliant that, you know, you're here to share how it happened and what led you to being in this position.
Right, okay. I'll go back a bit. So people know the history of the case and how I got into this situation. My wife, Irene, me and my wife, Irene, she died in 4th of June 2019, just like 4 months after I was evicted. She was around at the time when I got evicted, but I did get her to move with my mum, so she was out of the way, because I was expecting a violent eviction, because I've seen it before. I've got friends who've been through it, so I understand exactly how the police and the bailiffs work. So I'll go back to me and my wife. We bought a nightclub in 1998, and we had it for 14 years. We operated it for 14 years. The first 10 years or so was pretty good. It's good business, and the licensing laws changed, the smoking ban come in and all that, and we decided in 2012 to close the business down. I've made some notes here, so I'm going to have a look on the computer, so I'll get all the facts for you. We closed business down in 2012 due to pressure from the council and police, because we weren't in the area they wanted us to control. And we never had a problem with the police concerning the nightclub and the customers and all that. But the council didn't want us in that area, and they used the police to put pressure on us. And it worked, because we went from like operating 4 nights a week down to 1 night a week. And even that 1 night a week on a Saturday night weren't worth opening, because the customers were being pushed to other areas where the council and the police wanted to control. when we closed the business down in 2012, I emailed Southampton City Council, that's where the nightclub was, Southampton, saying we've closed the business down. We know we're still all liable for business rates, but at the moment we've got no money, and until we've sold the property, which we own the freehold to, then we can't pay anything at the moment. But what council basically said was, well, if you can't pay it now, we want it now. We don't really care. They didn't actually say it in them words, but they wasn't bothered whether we could pay it or not. They wanted their money. They wanted it then and there. Even though we've told them we haven't got any money. That's why we've closed the business down, because the business weren't worth operating. We also had loans with NatWest, who we had a bank account with, that was secured by the freehold of the property, which we didn't have any mortgage on. I can't remember what year it was, but we turned the business into a limited company, and NatWest actually messed up the paperwork, and when they realised I couldn't pay the loans anymore, they started trying to put pressure on me, but they realised they'd messed up, and they wanted to sign a bit of paper to agree that they'd messed up, that everything's okay now. If I sign this, then they wanted to get a hold on me. But I realised they knew they'd done wrong, and they knew they couldn't put any pressure on me unless I signed that piece of paper, which I never done. After we closed the nightclub down in 2012, we did find someone to lease a property for 18 months. They was looking to buy it at the end of the term, if everything went well. But same with them, business weren't very good, because they was being pressurised by the police and the council because they weren't in the right area. So they did. They didn't end up buying the property, and they didn't actually pay the rent for the last couple of months anyway. So, but we did have a little bit of income while they was leasing it. But then it was, so I think 2013. In 2015, NatWest started putting the pressure on about paying the loans and that. We still hadn't sold the property, we didn't have any money, but they started putting pressure on, and they actually got receivers in. And this is in Southampton. I was living in Chatham with my mum at the time, in Medway, so it was a long way away from the club. And they got receivers in, and I was trying to sell the property. I did have someone who was interested in the property, and we'd come to an agreement on the price, but the receivers who got involved with NatWest, they put a stop to it.
So they didn't want to wait for you to sell the property, they were just forcing and forcing. They knew you had interest, but they wanted their money now.
Yeah, they wanted it there and then, and even though they...
So there's no help for anyone who falls into hard times to try and help them, you know, both win, if you like.
Yeah, well, when you're going against the council and the banks, they're all in the same club together, and it's all about asset stripping, which is pretty obvious to me by now, yeah. But I didn't realise at the time.
There's a lot of things we didn't realise a few years back, you know. So then how did you end up buying this house, and what where you are now, where you're fighting?
Me and my wife, we bought this house in 2010. We got loans from NatWest secured against the nightclub property, which we had the freehold to. There's no mortgage on that. So we was really maxed out with loans against the property. Eventually, I say that they got the receivers in for the nightclub property, and they did sell it in the end to the person that I was doing a deal with for the same sort of price. But now I've got receivers in. They're adding like £20,000 fees for the receivers' fees on top of what we had. So
not only are you in debt, they're increasing.
Yeah, it was increasing all the time. Yeah. And when they did finally sell it, I think it was 2016, to the man that I knew, I'd known him for many years. I was going to do the deal with him, but they done the deal with him. Said he can't deal with Mr. White, as they called me. So you'll have to deal with us. If you want to buy the property, then you'll have to deal with us. And he did buy off him in the end, and we ended up with probably, I think it's just under £1,000, which NatWest actually sent us a cheque for after selling the property, but we should have had a lot more than that, at least the £20,000 that NatWest got the receivers in, and their charges plus whatever else they put on top. Anyway, they sold it, and as far as I didn't really know what to do about it, so we just left it at that. Right.
It looks like, bear with me. Can anyone still see me? I think I've been banned.
And I've still got it.
Can you still see me? Hi, right, I think.
Yeah, I've still got it.
Yeah,
okay, I've just got a ban on Facebook. Right, let's carry on, see if it carries on, we'll see. Oh, fantastic. Right, so we're still on, let's go for it. If not, we'll, yeah.
Okay.
So you sold, that was done with the club. You lost more money than you should have lost because the banks stripped you of everything.
Yeah, and we ended up with just under £1,000 from NatWest, yeah. So we was finished with NatWest, got rid of the property. The reason I borrowed the money and using the nightclub property as insurance was to buy-to-let properties, and at the time we had 11 buy-to-let properties, which was, after we closed the nightclub business down, that was our income, mine and my wife's income, and that was our pension for the future. When we was ready, if we needed some more money, we could sell a property and we could live on that, yeah. And we was getting rental income.
That's quite a lot of properties, isn't it? It's quite a nice little income, 11 properties, yeah.
It was good, yeah, all the time. When they're all rented out, yeah, it's a decent income, yeah. Pays all the bills, it was all on mortgage, but it paid all the mortgages. Then, from about 2015, Southampton City Council started putting pressure on us because they wanted their business rates, because we hadn't paid the business rates up till when NatWest actually sold the property through receivers, and they wanted paying. I think it was something like £32,000 they wanted, even though we hadn't been operating the business. I think we was paying something like £18,000 a year for business rates, even though, or that's what they wanted, even though we wasn't actually running the business. They still wanted their £18,000 a year. So they started putting the pressure on, and they wanted to bankrupt me because of the business rates, even though it was mine and my wife's name who was liable to pay the business rates. They was only going after me for some reason, because most of the properties were only in my name. The only reason I done it that way was because it was easier for me to get the mortgages in my name rather than the two of us do it together. So most of the properties, I think it was just one that was in joint names. So they was going for bankruptcy, and it was in 4th of July 2017, that was when I was declared bankrupt. I did turn up to a hearing before the last hearing in July 2017, but I could see that the council solicitors and the judge, they didn't care what I said and what I come across with. They weren't listening to me, and I lost my temper with the judge, and I think the judge felt a bit worried for I was threatening or something, and he adjourned it for 56 plus days, so this was probably about 3 months before they actually went ahead with the last bankruptcy hearing, and I didn't even bother attending because I thought, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I know what they're going to do.
Well, you probably felt very deflated at the time, like you're
exactly,
banging your head against a system that you feel you can't win.
Yeah, I knew they weren't going to listen to anything I had to say, so there was no point in me being there. So they got the order from Medway County Court to make me bankrupt. And that was 4th of July 2017. I've never complied with anything because I knew it was all corrupt and they wouldn't listen. And it's coming up 5 years now.
So when they made you bankrupt, they took all the buy-to-let properties. Well,
at the time, like I say, I've never complied with the trustee in bankruptcy. They didn't know much about me really, apart from my name. They didn't even know where I was living. But eventually, a couple of months after, they found out that I had rental properties. They found my bank account. When they found out where my bank account was, I went to the cash machine one day, put my card in to draw some cash out, and it swallowed my card.
Oh.
Because they was informed by the trustee, even though he's denied it all the way through, that he informed them. They was informed by them, and I think this was a Sunday, so I went in the bank the next morning, and I tried to have a speak to the manager. I talked to the manager to explain, look, the cash machine's swallowed my card. What's this all about? And I knew what it was about. I knew it's to do with them shutting my account down, and the bank manager didn't want to talk to me, so I didn't get anywhere with that. Then obviously after that I had NatWest on my back, because once the trustee in bankruptcy, he found out about properties, he got rid of all the tenants, which is our income, so I had no income, and eventually started selling them off. I think even to date, I think they've still got one in their books, which is they can't sell for some reason. I'm still getting letters from the mortgage company saying you owe this and you owe that. But apart from that one, they've sold them all off, and as far as I know, they sold them under value, and like I say, the original debt was only like £32,000, something like that. And I don't know how much they've earned from the properties they've sold. I haven't got a clue.
It's very heartbreaking, isn't it? You spend your whole life trying to build, you know, your life, your future, your retirement, only for it to be just taken away over their policies, their laws that they keep changing, and fraudulent debt. Yeah,
and I'll say these rental properties was one of my wife's pension. That's what we had them for. So after that, we had NatWest on the back. Obviously, we only had. They wanted our house, so they went for a possession order. I think the date was 13th of August 2018. I went to the possession hearing in Medway County Court with my wife. My mate Tobe was there, who was Mackenzie's friend in this case. So the judge approved the possession order, and that this was 2018 in August. So from that date we had 28 days to hand over the keys. and obviously we didn't do it because we didn't agree with what was going on. And as far as we were concerned, we was in dispute with not just the bank, but like the trustee and bankruptcy, the Southampton City Council and that. And so they've got a possession order.
Yeah.
And 28, it's supposed, the way it works, if you don't hand the keys in within 28 days, then they'll go for a warrant for possession.
Yeah.
So they got their warrant for possession.
Yeah.
28 days after the 13th of August 2018. I had letters from the county court bailiffs and all that, and saying they was going to come round on the 4th of December 2018 to evict me.
Yeah.
I didn't want. I knew friends and about other evictions where it's got violent. I didn't want my wife to be in the house when they turned up. So
How common was it for things like this to get violent when bailiffs turned up with the police? You said you knew. How?
Well, from what I've seen, I've got friends around the country who have videoed it.
Yeah.
When the bailiffs and the police have been breaking in.
Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't be, because when it's a residential property and it's a civil matter, the police and the bailiffs are not allowed to force entry. It's meant to be peaceful entry. The only way they're allowed in, if they go by the rules, is either being invited in, or going through an unlocked door.
Yeah.
And I knew that. But the bailiffs turned up on the 4th of December 2018. I said I didn't want my wife there, so she moved to my mum's house, which is like 20 miles away. So she wasn't there when the bailiffs turned up, because I didn't know how it was going to go. But on the day, on the first attempt, it's quite interesting, because the bailiffs obviously realised it wasn't going to be an easy job, and I don't think they intended doing anything that day. I had 5 friends here to support me and to witness whatever was going to go on with the bailiffs. What happened was the locksmith turned up first in his van. He was parked a few doors up the road. One of my friends spotted the van and said, "That's the locksmith." And my mate Richard, who was filming it all, he was recording it all. He went up to the van, he was recording the locksmith in the van, and one of the bailiffs turned up. I don't know his name, but he was talking to the locksmith. then Tobe, he was also recording, and he went up and had a chat with the bailiff who was talking to the locksmith. Couldn't really get much sense out of them, they didn't want to know. And they was waiting for the other locksmith, the other bailiff to turn up. So probably about 5-10 minutes later, the other bailiff turns up. My 5 friends were waiting outside the house, and the 2 bailiffs come towards the house, and my friends were having a chat with them. They told them what the law is and what they are allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. And there's a bit of it wasn't a heated discussion, but it was quite.
There was a standoff.
It was a bit of a standoff, but it was all friendly. No one threatened anyone, like the bailiff and the locksmith have said in their statements. So Michael Simpson is the name of the bailiff who was in charge, and he's the one who filled in a request form to get police assistance for the last visit, and on the 5th of February 2019. The bailiff who filled the form in said there were approximately 12 persons present that stated they were freemen of the land, and they blocked bailiffs from executing the order. The video evidence that my friend Richard recorded shows a different story. Then there was a locksmith, his name's Rod Hall. He stayed in his van a few doors up the road. He came up with an even better story. In his statement, which was dated 29th of August 2019, he said, "I was in attendance on a previous attempt which was unsuccessful due to the aggression and the amount of people present at the property. There were around 15 other people present who displayed intimidating behaviour. Some were wearing masks and all were recording us." He also said in his statement that a warrant come with a power of entry to use force to gain entry. And obviously that's all been proven wrong.
So they don't like it when there's, you know, loads of you resisting. It's a threat to them, even though they are actually quite bullies and intimidating themselves. They don't like it when people resist.
No.
And your resistance is within your right to do so.
Yeah, and there was only five. I only had 5 friends there, not like one of them. The bailiff said there was 12. The locksmith said there was 15. The locksmith said he was being aggressive, he was wearing masks, which is total crap.
Yeah.
I was inside the house. I spoke to the bailiff outside the window. I told them they're not coming in the house, and I told them they're not allowed to force anything. But you could tell by their attitude they weren't going to do it. And I said, right, well, we won't be doing it today, but we will come back at another time without notice. So my wife has...
Can they come back without notice? Is that within...
according to this was N54A, which is something that if they don't succeed with the first, what do you call it, N54, they have to go back to the court and get an M54A, which gives them permission from the court to turn up without notice. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So my wife was staying at my mum's. I wanted her to stay there because I knew, as I said, we will be back without notice. And obviously I didn't know how long it would take, but it was 2 months later before they did turn up. Something else about the bailiffs while I was there. My friend, one of my friends, Jeb, who's not alive now, he asked the other bailiff if he could have a look at the warrant. So he got this folded piece of paper out of his pocket and sort of flashed it in front of his eyes, and it was folded. I don't know why he had it folded, why he didn't open it up and show him the whole lot, but he didn't want him to see the warrant. So he put it straight back in his pockets, quickly flashed it in front of his eyes. Then a few minutes later, another friend turned up, or I didn't know he was turned up, but somehow he found out about the eviction, and he turned up. He asked Michael Simpson, who was the main bailiff, what his name was, and where's your ID? Show me your ID. And he kept pushing him to see his ID, which the police should do, and anyone, if a bailiff turns up at your property, you want to see their ID, you want to see if they're real bailiffs, if they've got a proper warrant, but they didn't want to show any of that. But he did get his card out, and all it said on it was County Court Bailiff. There was no name or nothing on it. So my friend had just turned up. He said, "What's your name?" Your name's not on there. Show me your proper ID. What is your name? And he kept pushing it. The bailiff said, "I don't have to reveal my name." Now, we know that's crap.
Because you can search. You have the right to search them on the register, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or phone the court to see if they are real bailiffs, if they are working for that court or whatever. But he refused to give his name, and he said he doesn't have to give his name, which is total
wrong.
Crap.
Yeah.
And we said, okay then, if you're all legal and you've got a warrant and all that, phone the police. Get the police to come down, and but they didn't want to know. And not long after that, they went away, and they said, we'll be back without notice, and that was it. So they was gone from the first attempt. Then after that, that was 4th of December 2018. So I was in the house on my own for 2 months, never knowing when I was going to come along.
What a very stressful way for you to live, obviously.
Yeah, it wasn't easy because I used to go out for a walk in the early hours of the morning because I know they weren't allowed to come around at certain times and that. So I used to go out. It's February, from December, January, February. I was doing that just to get a bit of fresh air, get out of the house, like 3-4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Then come to the 5th of February 2019.
Yeah.
That's when I was sitting in my office at the front of the house and I noticed the police going by. And as soon as I see the police, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I knew what was going on. I knew they've come to trying to have another attempt at eviction. So I tried to phone a friend to see if I'm getting any assistance. Couldn't get through to him. 8 o'clock in the morning this was. And I put a table in front of the door. I did already have a door handle locked up, and I had a bar on it to stop it being brought down. Put a table in front of the door, and I went upstairs to the landing, opened the window. I saw the bailiff that was there 2 months before. He said to me, "Are you going to open the door and let us in?" I said no, I'll shut the window. It was no more than probably 2 or 3 minutes after that, after I said no, I was at the front of the house, moving the table in place, and I heard a smashing coming from the side door in the kitchen.
So you've got a main entrance at the front, and then you've got an alleyway that leads into a door to the entrance to the kitchen. So you've got 2 entrances,
yeah,
right?
That's right, yeah. So I was at the front door. I heard a smashing at the side of the house, sounded like breaking glass. And I had an ornamental wooden club, whatever you want to call it, hanging up at the front door. So when I had the smashing noise, I grabbed hold of the club, come to the kitchen, and I could see there was a hole in the bottom of the door where they'd smashed the panel through, and I saw a head just about to come through the door, and I now know it's the Sergeant Bowman, and he saw me coming towards him, and he thought, well, he shit himself and got out quick. So I walked towards the door. I tried to put the panel back in place, as can be seen on the police video, which was shown in the court.
Now, to just go back to the police video, these Sergeant Bowman and the sergeant behind him weren't actually recording, were they? No. They didn't have their body cams on?
The sergeant didn't have a body camera on for some reason. I don't know why. You would have thought he would be as he's the one in charge of the other officers.
And also the bailiffs did say to him that they had altercations with you in the previous occasion, so they thought there was going to be a breach of the peace. So being the sergeant in charge, he should have really had his body cam on from the beginning.
Exactly, yeah.
But he didn't, and nor did the policeman behind him.
No, the other PC Dunn, the one who tasered me, he did actually have a camera, but he didn't switch it on until after I was arrested and handcuffed in the house.
So that was after the tasering, after they punched you.
Yeah.
Then he turned it on.
Right. Let me go back a bit. Right. Before they on the body cam video, which I was sent by the police, which I was quite shocked that they sent me it, because it shows exactly what they'd done and how wrong it was. You can. PC Dunn said in his statement, because of the sporadic incident, he didn't have time to switch on his body cam, and he only switched it on after I was handcuffed and after I'd been tasered. But if you look on the video, you can see PC Dunn is very casually strolling back from the car with his the enforcer, as they call it, the battering ram. It would have been quite easy for him having the enforcer in one hand, just switch his camera on with the other hand.
Yeah.
But he never done it for some reason. I don't know why. If he had done it, might have been. He might have had some evidence of me swinging this club, as he said.
So most of the recording was done from a third policeman, or was it?
Yeah, it was the one behind PC Dunn and the sergeant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, I was quite surprised that they wanted to send me that. But, I didn't get it until the last day of their disclosure request, and it was actually hand posted through the door because I was pressurising them for disclosure, and they knew they was late with it, so they had to hand post it rather than post it through the Royal Mail. Yeah. So. Yeah, so PC Dunn could quite easily have switched the camera on, which he didn't. Anyway, I heard the smashing, tried to put the panel back up on the door. The sergeant grabbed hold of a piece of metal and he smashed it. Smashed the panel out of my doors, as you can see on the video. That's when PC Dunn moved in, pointed his taser at me. Probably, well, near enough, straight after. The sergeant smashed the panel out of the door. He was pointing his taser at me. I said, "Go on in, shoot me." I was about 3 or 4 foot away from him. So he did. He shot me in the chest. But luckily I had, it was February time, I didn't have the heating on, and it didn't contact the skin, so I just pulled the wires out. Then I moved back from him about 7 or 8 feet, whatever it was, and he was aiming the taser at me again. So this time he was aiming at my leg, and he shot me in the leg, and I did feel that one. That did contact the skin, and that did stop me from moving, knock me backwards. That's when the police, it was PC Vencius, who was the first one in, who was the one who's camera video. He was the one who had a video on. Then the sergeant come in after him. They grabbed hold of me, moved me over to the other side of the room, and you could see by and hear from what the sergeant said, the sergeant was really angry, and he punched me in the face twice after I'd been tasered. He said, "You don't do that to officers," and all that. I don't know what he's on about, but I didn't do anything to officers. No officers were hurt. Then they got me on the floor, face down. I had a cut on my head. They handcuffed me behind my back. I had the sergeant sitting on my back, and he said he was arresting me for a fray. So I was arrested, taken to the police station eventually. But before we actually went to the police station, PC Vencius, who's the main video evidence, he was on the radio to the control room, saying that someone had been tasered. PC Dunn was in the car, and PC Shilling was in the car, and PC Vencius found out that when someone's been tasered, they're supposed to be taken to hospital, and he tried to explain this to PC Dunn, and he had to say it a couple of times that he needs to go to hospital, because as far as PC Dunn was concerned, we was going straight to the police station. So
even though he'd had his taser training, and it's all in the training,
yeah,
he wasn't going to take you to the hospital?
He wasn't aware that I was meant to be taken, because he says he don't believe that it contacted the skin, which is, well, he should know better, because he's seen the way I went backwards, and he said that in the court the other day. He did go backwards.
But even if he thought it hadn't, or should it not be right so that they still get you checked, just in case?
That is in the rules, yeah. They are supposed to take this to hospital after anyone's been tasered, yeah, whether it missed or whatever, you know, yeah.
To cover, obviously, themselves. I mean, you were, you know, an older man. You could have had any underlying health problem.
Yeah. If I had a heart problem or anything like that, yeah, of course, it could have killed someone, yeah. And no doubt they have done it. kill people by doing that. Yeah.
So they took you. So they decided, because of the third policeman, to then take you to the hospital.
Yeah. So they took me to a local hospital. We was waiting there for about an hour or so. They don't do accident and emergency there. So finally, they told them, "Oh no, we can't deal with him here. You'll have to take him to Medway Hospital." So it was not until I think 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just after, that we finally got to the police station. We did go to Medway Hospital, but I've refused any treatment by both hospitals anyway. So I wasn't injured apart from a cut on my head. I wasn't worried about any injuries.
You were probably too angry at the time to worry about injury. Adrenaline kicks in, doesn't it? And you, yeah.
That's probably what it was. Yeah, the adrenaline kicked in, and I didn't really at the time. I didn't feel the pain.
Well, you're in a state of shock as well, because the police broke into your house, and you know they broke the rules, so you're kind of in a state of
shock and surprise.
Yeah.
Because I knew it's a civil matter. The police should not be getting involved. All they was meant to be there for is to prevent a breach of the peace or any other crime that may be committed.
Right.
And I know there was no breach of the peace for me. It was the police that breached the peace. And I know the only crime I committed was saying no out the window.
Yeah.
If that's a crime, maybe they thought that was a crime. I don't know. But the police took over, and then I was taken to the hospitals after PC Dunn actually realised that is what you're supposed to do. He was actually heard on another PC Shillings video after PC events, just explained that he's got to go to the hospital, and you can actually hear him say, "I don't understand that." He didn't understand that I was meant to be taken to the hospital.
Oh my God.
But obviously that video wasn't shown in the court, wasn't played in the court, and the same as my video evidence wasn't played in the court either.
Yeah, they refused to play it, didn't they?
Yeah. So I was arrested, taken to the police station. I was kept there till about just after 11.
While in the police station, you exercised your right to remain silent.
Yeah.
They made a note of this. Would you advise anyone to do the same?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Why did you exercise your right to remain silent? What?
Well, because I know when you start talking to the police, they try and lead you with certain questions in certain ways. If you're talking to them, and they'll ask you questions, and if you're answering them, they're very clever at what they do, and I just refused to say anything. I was quite happy to wait until it went to court or whatever and deal with it then.
Yep.
Even though they tried to make you think, oh, if you don't say anything, it might go
They
against
play,
you.
don't they, word magic. If you don't say anything, it could go against you in a court of law. So they
Yeah.
try and manipulate the situation to extract information from you.
Exactly, yeah.
So you would advise anyone to remain silent? Yeah,
Well,
I would as well.
Every case is different. It's up to whoever's been arrested, but I would do it again. I'll do the same again,
Yeah, remain silent, yeah.
Because they do try to make you think, oh, if I don't say anything, I might be in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you don't say might not be allowed to use later in court or whatever.
Yeah.
Right, so I was kept in the police station till just after 11 that night. I was obviously 20 miles away from the house, and I guess I could see what was happening when I was in the back of the car. There was a van ready to board the house up as soon as I was out of it, so I knew there was no point going back home. So I went round my mum's and where my wife was staying, explained the situation to her, and so that was 5th of February 2019. I did come along back to the house with my wife the next day to see what was going on. See, the house was boarded up. There was on the front drive there was a 24-hour dog patrol. and I had a chat with the bloke who was there at the day, on that time, and asked him what the situation was, who do I get in contact with about getting our personal belongings out and all that. And he didn't have a clue, he didn't want to know, so we just left it at that. Then we was told that all our property was going to be cleared out of the house, which was done, I think, about a week or so later. And it took us another week to find out where they'd taken it. But
did you have children living with you at the time, by
No,
any chance? No. Okay.
no, I was on my own.
Just you and your wife?
My wife was there until I moved her up to my mum's
Yeah.
to keep her out of the way, yeah. So probably about 2 weeks after I was chucked out of the house, we tried to find out where they'd taken our property. We eventually found out where it was. It was all in, I think it's 5 containers in around Maidstone area. So we arranged for a van to go and pick all the stuff up. It took quite a few trips because there's a lot of stuff there, big furniture and that. We had to ditch all the big furniture and we give away a lot of stuff because we had nowhere to store it. So we give most of our stuff away apart from the personal stuff while we were staying at my mum's. And it was...
How did you feel at the time, going through all that? Like, just how, in that moment where you were taken out of your home and you were losing everything, how did you feel?
Well, I knew what they'd done was wrong. Obviously I was quite angry about it, but I was just...
Well, you must have felt very hurt and frustrated, and because you're dealing with fraud.
Yeah. Well, I was ready for the fight with the court case and all that. But obviously, my wife was, she's a bit different to me, or she was a bit different to me. Yeah, she was really upset about it, yeah. Plus they've broken into her home, but they've taken all their possessions out. She was very house proud. She's like everything in place and all that, yeah. She had a lot of personal stuff which got ruined because of the way they've taken it out of the house and dumped it in containers.
And your wife was also not well at the time?
Well, this was a little while after.
Right.
Yeah. So the eviction was the 5th of February 2019. I said there was 24-hour dog patrol. They was there for about 6 or 7 weeks. Now, I've got a brother-in-law, he lives nearby and he used to check on the house every day. And he told me about 6 or 7 weeks later, the dog patrol gone. So I thought, right, okay.
6 or 7 weeks?
6 or 7 weeks later, yeah, because they was trying to sell the house, right? And I spoke to my neighbours. He said there was someone who was seriously interested in buying it, and he's had a chat with the neighbour to find out what score was in it. And
that's a long time to actually patrol a home. Wow.
Yeah. So when I found out that the security had gone, I decided, right, I'm going to come back and take the house back. I think it was the 29th. It was, I remember it was a Friday. It was Brexit Day. I'm pretty sure it was 29th of March 2019. Thought, right, I'm going to go in there. My wife dropped me off with a load of tools. I got over the back gate, and as I say, there was metal screens on every door and window, and I decided to take the one off one of the back windows, which was the kitchen window, and I got it off. I was just replacing the glass because when they board your house up, they take all the glass out of the windows, they take all the doors off.
Yeah.
But luckily they keep them in the house, so it's just a matter of finding which panel of glass goes in which window and all that. I've got 2 panels of glass out of 3 back into the window. Then I heard police radios at the side of the house, and Then they started, there's two coppers, just young coppers, they was a bit clueless, and they started calling me name, and so I went out. I had to jump through the window to have a chat with them. They said, you Robert White? And I said, yeah. I showed them my ID. I said, look, I had an old driving licence with a photo on it. I showed them the title deeds of the house with my name on it. I explained the situation. I said, look, it's a civil matter, nothing to do with the police. It's my house. Then they said, can he let us in, because they was talking over the gate. So I let them in, and they said to me, how come this window hasn't got a panel on it like all the others? I said, I don't know. Then they had a look round, because I'd hid it behind the shed. They had a look round and said, I see they'd spotted it. I said, okay, yeah, I did take it off, but
it's your house.
It's my house. And one of the coppers said, right, we're arresting you for suspicion of burglary. They didn't handcuff me or nothing. It was all nice and calm. I said, look, you don't understand the situation. Can you get a sergeant down here? So they called for a sergeant to come down. It was about 15-20 minutes later. This sergeant turns up, and he recognised me. I didn't recognise him, because I used to play golf, and he used to apparently play golf at the same club I used to play. I explained the situation to him, and he said he understood. He realised, he knew about the 5th of February when I was tasered and kicked out the ass and punched in the face. He knew the whole story, and he says, yeah, you're right, it's a civil matter, it's nothing to do with the police. And this is another sergeant going against another sergeant who thought we could break in. So I said, right, we'll leave you to it. It's nothing to do with us. And before he left, he actually said to me, just a bit of advice, Bob. If any other police turn up who are not aware of the situation, just make sure you've got a bit of paperwork to show them. And he went on his way.
So he was being helpful.
He was being helpful, yeah.
Mm.
So, so as soon as I heard the police, I messaged my wife and said, look, the police are here. And she come, bless her, about half an hour later she turned up. She was going to Chatham, about 20 miles away, but she turned around and come back, and she had her phone on record, ready to record the police, but it's too late, they was gone.
Yes,
It did make me smile. So what I've done, I got the last window in, and I thought, right, we'll leave it there for today, and I screwed the window shut from the outside. And I went and my mum's with my wife, and the plan was, I'd already had people ready. We've come back the next day with 3 others to help me get the rest of the shutters off, all the grills and shutters off the doors and windows, and put all the doors and windows back in. So we turned up the next day, Saturday morning, nice sunny day. I think we got here about 9 o'clock in the morning. For some reason, the gate wouldn't open. We found out the security firm, the Bailiffs, had come back. They'd been informed by the police probably, or the neighbours or whatever, because it was on the front gate there was a security notice with a number on it if anyone's breaking in or whatever. But the gate wouldn't open, so I looked over, they'd put a lock on it. So go over the gate, then noticed the window that I put back in, they'd taken the glass back out and put another screen up, metal screen up. But they didn't do it very well, because they left one of the glass panels in and they couldn't secure it properly, so it was just a matter of pulling it up in the corner and leaving it off, which I got off pretty quick, and it was about 3 hours, the 4 of us, we got all the panels off and got all the doors and windows back in, changed all the locks. We had to change the locks on the doors because they'd already changed them. And another funny thing is, while we was doing that, my brother-in-law was outside and an estate agent turned up. I think he didn't really give any details, but it seemed like he must have had a viewing. And he said to my brother-in-law, "What are you doing, putting new shutters up?" He said, "No, we're fucking taking them down." Yeah, so he went. So I was back in the house. I didn't have no furniture, obviously. All I had was, I borrowed a camp bed from my brother-in-law, and there was a couple of chairs in there, so I stayed in the house. And a couple of days later, I went up to the estate agent who was trying to sell the house, and I asked them, "Well, what's the score with 29 Park Road then?" "Oh, we've taken it off the market. Been told to take it off the market." I said, "Who told you to do that?" "Oh, I've got no details, can't give you any information." I said, "Right, okay, right, I'm back in the house, don't you ever try and sell it again."
Yep.
And I left them. I need a wee.
All right, okay, carry on now.
Pause.
Guys, while this live started, I got a notice saying that I'm on a ban. So I've just received a ban while we're filming, which means that I may not be able to post it. Because when it comes to the end of the live, you have a choice. So it might not let me post it. I'm not sure. This has never happened to me before. My previous post, the Pfizer post, apparently goes against community standards or something ridiculous. So we're going to finish this. Share it at the moment if you can. We can only get as much as we can out. And if I can't post it, we'll do another one with him, but I'll do a pre-recorded one and put it on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. But yeah, so Facebook is onto me again. Well, I'm sure it's not Facebook. I'm sure it's the trolls that are following me. Them trolls really love me. They just can't stop watching me. So they're reporting me for absolutely everything. I only have to breathe and they're reporting me. But we know it's good that we're giving Bob the opportunity. He's going to also be doing another interview tomorrow, which we'll tell you more about, to get his story out there, because there's too many people suffering right now. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I just have a feeling I won't be able to post it at the end. It's gonna, because I've been banned.
Screen record, so you should be able to.
The screen record, yeah, we're screen record, but it didn't start from the beginning. But it'll be at the end when I finish posting.
With the amount of people that share, because I've shared.
Yeah, share it. I hope so. Are the trolls commenting on your post now? Great. How did he get to the point they wanted to repossess the house? He just ended up in a bit of debt with. He explained it at the beginning of the video. He ended up, they had a business, a nightclub business, because governments are constantly changing laws. You see, you know, they're not here to support you and help your business. They're here to give you the belief that you can start a business, but then they start restricting you from every single angle, and then they make it harder and harder for you to earn a living, and they introduce these new legislations, those legislations, and you know, and this is what happens. Right, Bob's back. Have you got?
Sorry about that.
That's right. I'm going to turn the camera around and let Bob carry on.
Right.
There you go.
I must be getting old. I've got a weak bladder. Right. Well, we've got to. Right. So I'm back in the house. Went around to see the estate agent. Right. So where do we go from there? Right.
So they took the estate. They took the property off the market.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, I took property off the market, and I was. Oh yeah, I didn't say. When I got arrested, I was in the police station. The police wanted to charge me for some reason with 3 assaults on emergency workers and a fray. This is what they wanted to charge me with. So they passed it over to CPS. The CPS, so some hours later, they come back with, right, we're only going to charge him with 2 assaults on emergency workers, which is the police. Forget the affray and forget the other assault. Whoever I was supposed to have assaulted, I don't know. So that was the charges, 2 assaults on emergency workers. So.
Can I just retract 1 minute? When you gave up your business in a nightclub, you then went back
It's over here.
to
It's over here.
the ashtrays over there. You went back to your trade of being a brickie. That's your trade, right?
That used to be my trade when I was a younger man, yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, from the age of about 30, I got into a different business. Me and my wife had a shop. Then we went to the nightclub business.
And then you went back to working as a brickie.
Since we closed the club down, the nightclub down, and
I'm just saying because this is relevant for the court case as well.
I do mention them on
yeah. Right. So then you were saying that they tried to do you on all these new charges, different charges.
Yeah, I tried it with four charges, a frame and 3 assaults, but they only got CPS only wanted to know about 2 assaults. They said, right, so that's what they charged me with originally when they bailed me from the police station, was 2 assaults on emergency workers. So a month or so later, I turned up in the magistrate's court for the first hearing. They try and get a plea out of me and all that. I said, no, I'm not making any pleas. I said, I don't want it dealt with here. I want it dealt with in Crown Court in front of a jury. I want to try by jury.
Trial by jury. Did you represent yourself in a magistrate's?
Yeah, I represent myself all the way through. Yeah, I never had a duty solicitor in the police station. Obviously, I kept quiet, so I don't really need one anyway. So there's no point getting a solicitor if you're not going to say anything, is there?
Yep.
So we had the first hearing in the magistrates, and I said I want to try by jury in the Crown Court. They said, well, you've got 2 options. You can either trial in the magistrates or a trial in the Crown Court. I says, well, there's no way I'm going to have it in the magistrates because there's no jury in the magistrates, is there? So Crown Court it is, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So they set a date for a month later for the first hearing in the Crown Court. When I turned up for that hearing, they had to adjourn it because the magistrates' courts hadn't sent over the paperwork about the case management. They hadn't sent it over to the Crown Court, which is only like, I don't know, 500 yards away. And for some reason, the Crown Court didn't have it, so they had to adjourn it for another week. I've got some dates written down here, so I want to make sure I get them right. So it was 12th April, right.
It's very true. A wise man says nothing.
The first hearing in the Crown Court after I said I want to try by jury was the 5th of April 2019. And like I say, the paperwork were sent over from the magistrates, so they adjourned it to the 12th. This is not long. This is when my wife was taken ill. I emailed the court on the 11th of April to request an adjournment. It was meant to be on the 12th, the next day, because my wife had been taken ill. She was registered with a doctor in Sheerness, but she was living at Chatham time. She drove from Chatham to Sheerness, and I could see when she got here for a doctor's appointment. She come to the house first to see me. I could see in her face she was not well, but she had this doctor's appointment. She thought it to do with her kidney stones, which she's had problems with. Anyway, I said, right, you shouldn't have been driving, so I drove her to the doctors. Got into the doctors, when the doctors see her and spoke to her, he said, well, we need to call you an ambulance. You should have called an ambulance rather than come for your appointment. So rather than wait for an ambulance, I drove her to the hospital in Medway, another 20 miles back where she came from, and they kept her in, and it was pretty serious. She was in agony. She shouldn't have been driving. I don't know how she done it really. And this was, I think it's let's try and think the date. Would have been 5th, 6th, back around beginning of April. This is when she was taken ill and taken into hospital, and she was in Medway Hospital probably for 10 days or so. By this time, obviously, I'd left this house and I went to stay at my mum's because that's nearby the hospital, and obviously I was going to see her every day. She was in there for about 10 days, and I knew it was serious. We found out eventually it was liver cancer that she had, and she had a swelling on her liver and they had to drain it. But it took them days and days before they actually done anything like that. She was in agony. They'd pump her with morphine and everything. And she eventually got a bed in King's College Hospital, which is where they wanted to take her. And she was in there for a week or so. All they seemed interested in was controlling her pain. They weren't really interested in, even though by this time they'd realised what it was. It was liver cancer. They also said she had womb cancer as well, but that wasn't the serious bit. It was a liver cancer. Probably about 3 weeks after she went into hospital, she was allowed to go back home once they thought they got the right drugs for her to stop the pain.
So then you was dealing with obviously the repossession, trying to keep hold of your home, and your wife deteriorating in health.
Yeah, so I had to abandon this house, even though I'd taken it back. And this was only a week or so after I took the house back. Yeah, she was taken into hospital. So we got her back to my mum's house, and she was there for a few days, and the drugs they'd given her weren't working. So she had to go back into hospital, back to King's College Hospital, and I was back and forth visiting her every day. So again, they tried to adjust all the drugs, and they was going to give her a nut. And it was probably about 5 or 6 weeks, and she did get home for her birthday, which was the 5th of May. But then she was taken back into hospital again. You could see, just looking at her, she was getting thinner and thinner. And
well, everything was taking its toll on both of you as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. But, well, I won't go right into it.
No.
From the day she was taken into hospital, 8 weeks later, she was dead.
Oh my goodness.
And I never even attempted to give her any treatment apart from just giving her drugs to try and stop the pain. Yeah, so...
So you dealt with losing your wife as well, was losing your business, your home, all your properties. So you had a very difficult time. And so once your wife passed away, and obviously you had to deal with the grief, then...
We had to arrange a funeral and
yeah,
done all that. And
so had you then just left the property, or did you by then come back?
I did pop back a few times just to see whether the bailiffs had been back. And
so no one touched the property while you was...
It wasn't touched while I was away from it.
Okay.
Then obviously we had the funeral a couple of weeks after she died, which was the 4th of June 2019. Had the funeral. I was staying at my mum's at the time. I thought, right, I've got to get back to the house and defend my castle.
Actually, so honestly, Bob, you're going to make me cry. So you decided to come back. I mean, that's amazing that you still had the strength in you to keep fighting, because a lot of people would have broke down.
From that point, I was doing everything for Irene, you know, in memory of Irene. Yeah, I couldn't give up now, even though I'd lost her. Yeah, I had to carry on fighting. Yeah.
My goodness. Bless you.
Yeah, I know. I'm not usually emotional, but yeah, whenever I think about it, yeah.
So you carried on for Irene.
Yeah. Right, so that was June 2019. I was back in the house defending my castle. Yeah. Waiting for the trial date to come up. Right, let me just make sure I get the right. Right, so the first trial date after a couple of hearings, court case management hearings and all that, the date was set for the first trial for 22nd of July 2019. This was a Monday. It's supposed to start on a Monday. I found out on a Friday that was due in court on a Monday, but I had something quite important arranged where I was going to be away for the weekend. I wouldn't be back until the Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
This is to do with helping some other people out with same as mine really, violent evictions. They was evicted from the house violently, and also it's the launch of the Great British Mortgage swindle film by Michael Bernassia, and it was in Bournemouth. So me and a few other mates, we went to Bournemouth and we were staying there over the weekend. We weren't due back till Monday afternoon. So I found out about the court date. I tried ringing the court saying, look, I'm not going to be able to make it. I've got another appointment which I've had to arrange for quite a while. No answer from the court, obviously, because it's after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I emailed them just so I had something on the record that I wasn't actually skipping bail, and I had something else going on. So I got to Monday morning. I thought I better phone the court just to find out, see if they got my email, see what the score was. And they told me there was a bench warrant out for me arrest because I didn't turn up. So okay, got back Monday afternoon. I thought, right, I'm not going to go home. I stayed around a friend's house that night. I didn't know whether they were going to be chasing me or not, but anyway. And I decided to hand myself in the next day at the court or wherever. So I went along with Tobe and our good friend Roland.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, you then went on to meet Toby and Roland.
Well, I knew Tobe and Roland before this, but
Toby Hayden Lee, for anyone who's asking.
And Roland, after I moved back in the house, after Irene's funeral, Roland went to her funeral. He'd met Irene before. He'd stayed here before. Roland weren't happy where he was living in London, so he moved in the house with me. There was plenty of room. We've got a 4-bedroom house. So I think it was July 2019. He moved in with me. Yeah. Not the same room or bed or anything like that. But yeah, he was good, mate. My right hand man, as I used to call him. So me, Roland and Tobe went down to Maidstone Court the Tuesday after I was meant to be. I did say in the email, I can't make it Monday, if you could wait for me to come on Tuesday, but they weren't having that.
No.
And the bench warrant was out for me arrest. So Tobe went into the court, me and Roland stayed outside because we didn't know what was going to happen. Tobe went in to find out what the score was. So that the one I used to do, used to have an officer, police officer, or should be a constable, but police officers they call them, in the court, and they used to arrest you and take you up to the judge or whatever. But they don't do that anymore, so you have to go down to the police station and then yourself in. So that's what we done. Went down to the police station, handed myself in and said it was about, okay, no problem. Coppers were good as gold. Said, right, what we'll have to do is take you over to court and you have to wait there until your case is heard. And they deliberately kept it to the last case of the day because we went there in the morning and they kept it to the last case of the day just to try and make me sweat a bit and teach me a lesson and all that. Come out in front of the judge, he tried to make it, he treated me like I was a school kid who'd been naughty and you've done very bad and all that. But anyway, eventually, after giving me a lecture, he gave me bail with conditions, as he didn't turn up on Monday. It's very serious, even though I'd given him an excuse, why not? But, bail with conditions, I had to sign on the police station 3 times a week.
Lovely. So
I went along with that, and they set a new date for the trial, which was 27th of August 2019. No, it should have been 22nd of July, was it? 22nd of July? Yeah, it should have been 22nd of July, but now they've changed it to 27th of August because I didn't turn up. So, up until then I was signing on at the police station 3 times a week. So, 27th of August, the first trial starts. It's 27th of August 2019, this is. So, the first thing, as I'm an innocent man, I had the argument about going in the dock with the judge and the clerk of the court first, and the judge come in. Said, look, why should I go in the court in the dock? I'm an innocent man. And he said, well, I said, look, my name's Bob, by the way. I'm not Mr. White. He said, okay, I know that, but I will call you Mr. White, whatever. So he said, if you don't go in the dock, we won't go ahead with the case, and you'll be done for charged with contempt of court. So okay, I'll go in there under duress. So me and Tobe, I got Tobe there, with Mackenzie's friend, who's both in the dock. All you got in the dock is a glass screen up from like shelf level up to the ceiling. This was court number 6 in Mason Crown Court. There was just a seat. There's seats in there. There's no table or nothing where you can put your paperwork down, because obviously I had a load of paperwork which I needed to go through, and I was unrepresented, obviously, because I had Tobe there as Mackenzie's friend. So got in the dock, and there was security in there as well with us. So the first thing was swearing the jury and all that, and then they got to playing the police body cam video to the jury. Funny thing is with that, the CPS lawyer, he was in charge of controlling the video. He tried to keep the sound down, so the jury couldn't hear what the police were saying, because it's pretty obvious what they was doing was wrong, and the lawyer, CPS lawyer, knew this anyway. But anyway, he tried to keep the sound down, but we might, and the judge ordered him to rewind it and start again, make sure the volume's up. So that was that. While I think it's before the witness coming, yeah, before the witness coming, when the CPS lawyer was speaking, I kept saying, look, excuse me, I can't hear what you're saying. I kept shouting out quite a few times. Then eventually the judge said to the jury, right, look, you're going to have to go out of the room for a minute. And he had a word with me. He said, look, Mr. White, okay, you can come onto the front bench. You can come out the dock onto the front bench. So, yeah, me and Tobe was smiling.
It's brilliant.
And he let us on the same bench as a CPS lawyer, so now I could hear him.
I bet the CPS lawyer weren't very impressed with that.
No, he didn't like. He said, this is very unusual that we're going to do this, but on this occasion we will do it. Yeah. So
they can change the rules when they want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll come to that story when we go into the second trial, because that's even funnier what they've done there. So this is the first trial. They played the video. Tobe got a few warnings for whispering in my ear too loud. They tried to do a video link with the sergeant. He was the first witness to be called, but that was a total balls up. They couldn't hear what he was saying. They couldn't connect properly. I don't know whether it's a bad signal or whatever, and the judge ordered that the sergeant be in the court the next day because they couldn't get it right on the video link. Yeah. So day one, that's where it ended because the sergeant didn't have time to get there that day. So come to day two. Sergeant comes in. The CPS lawyer does his bit. He questions the sergeant, goes through all the crap. Then it's my turn to cross-examine the sergeant. So I've asked him about three questions, I think, before we got to the main question, which is about the warrant and about whether it allowed them to false entry. And I knew it didn't, and obviously the judge at this stage didn't know whether it did or not. But anyway, the judge said, right, let me have a look at that warrant. And he says, you're right, Mr. White. It says nothing about anyone being allowed to false entry. So he dismissed the jury, told the sergeant to get out of the court, and he gave the CPS lawyer a right bollocking for the way he handled the case. And it was probably a good 15-20 minutes argument between the judge and the CPS lawyer. And the funniest thing at the end was the judge said to the CPS lawyer, Mr. Cherrill, you're clutching at straws. And Mr. Cherrill says, well, Your Honour, when the order is straws to clutch at, that's what one does. And that was it. That's that case finished. But
so you didn't even get to the jury making a decision. It just all got thrown out.
We only got the first witness, which was the sergeant.
And that was because the warrant did not authorise breaking in.
Yeah, which the sergeant believed it did. Obviously, the bailiffs knew that it didn't. That's why they let the police do the job for them.
They weren't stupid then.
No, they weren't. No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But before it ended, the judge set a date for a month later to give the CPS a chance to review what had happened and see if they wanted to have another go, have a second trial.
Why would he do that?
Because it couldn't. Because of the stupid rules that they've got in place, and that the judge couldn't actually chuck it out at that stage. I don't know exactly what it was, but he tried to explain. He said, I can't throw the case out here because such and such. You know.
Well, I mean, if he threw the case out, it would open up a whole can of worms for the warrant, surely.
Well, I'll go on to that in the next hearing. So we had another hearing a month later. This is the hearing to see if the CPS wanted to go ahead and have another bite at the cherry, so to speak.
Wow.
And they did. They did want another bite because they didn't want we were winning this case because they realised this could be big for a lot of people and it would go against the banks and the bailiffs and what
and
police
debt.
do in evictions and all that. That is why the CPS wanted to carry on with it. They really thought they could beat me. So they had another go. But the thing is, at this hearing in September, it was meant to be like an hour and a half hearing in the morning. But it went on into the afternoon, and I had a good few friends there again, as I always do. And they all thought, yeah, it's going well. The judge is going to chuck it out. But in the end, he agreed for the CPS to have another go at it.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
But what they've done, they've ditched the warrant argument, which is what the first case was about. A warrant and allowing they're allowed false entry. The warrant argument was out of it. That was nothing to do with the next hearing, next trial. they come up with the breach of the peace argument, where the police anticipated a breach of the peace because of what they was told by the bailiffs and the locksmith, which is all bullshit.
Yeah.
And if that don't work, then they're going to go for the trespasser argument, which is even if the police are classed as trespassers, I used excessive force to repel them. So that's their argument for the second trial. That's the way I was going to play it. It was nothing to do with the warrant anymore, because they'd lost that one, but they got another chance to.
Well, they didn't even lose it, did they? Because they didn't. The case wasn't fully heard because the judge dismissed it. So the judge actually played a good hand there by dismissing the case.
Well, I think the judge in the first trial, he really wanted to chuck the case out, but because of their stupid rules, he couldn't, and he knew if he did, the CPS would object to it, and they'd have to have another go at it. But it don't seem right, because they're changing it from one argument to another, which is total bullshit, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was September 2019. So
well, they have to be seen to do something, haven't they, to uphold these unlawful regulations?
Yeah. So he set a date. What was it, September? So he set a date for, I think it was May 2021 was supposed to be the next trial, but then the pandemic came in.
Right.
And so that stopped that trial. Then I had a phone call here in months later, like a case management hearing, to see what they're going to do, because that one was abandoned, to see what they're going to do when the next trial will be. I did get another date. That one also was abandoned because of the pandemic, but eventually we got to the 21st of March this year,
which is where we're at this week.
This week's trial, yeah.
So you've waited a long time for this.
Oh yeah, over 3 years since the police done the wrong thing.
Wow. So this week come 21st, you had a team of support of amazing people.
Yeah, very good support.
Yeah.
Well, before 2 weeks before the 21st, I put an application in to the CPS and the judge to throw the case out because of an abusive process and a malicious prosecution. And that was 2 weeks before the 21st. I got a reply back. I sent it by email. I got a reply back from the CPS. I think it was on the Thursday before the Monday, when the trial was meant to be started, saying they was going to carry on with the prosecution. If you want to put your application in, you'll have to ask the judge to look at it.
Don't you find it strange that they knew they messed up, but they're still trying to prove a point? It's a bit like the man burning down his house just to kill the rat.
Yeah.
That's what they done. In the end, they shot themselves in the foot, really.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But they just didn't want me winning, because they knew this is going to
have an impact going forward with a lot of cases.
Open it up for lots of people who have been in the same situation and have lost and haven't got any further with it. Yeah. So they really thought they could beat me. They really did, especially as I think that's a good thing about a judge. He realised, well, I'm a litigating person. I don't trust solicitors and barristers and all that. I will never use one again. And the judge could see I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had help and assistance to help me get through the case. And there was no way I was going to give up. I was 100% all the way. I knew I'd done no wrong, so I haven't always been the angel I am now. But when I've done wrong in the past, I've always held my hands up and said, right, yeah, it was me. Do what you got to do, and we get on with it. But this is one of them occasions where I've done no wrong, so I won't give it up.
No, you're generally the victim, you know.
Yeah.
So
definitely, yeah.
They didn't.
Victim, yeah.
So really, they could have stopped it in the first one, but they didn't want to because that would have proved the warrant unlawful.
Yeah, the warrants are unlawful.
But they still needed to stand or make a stand for something. So then they tried to say about the fact that if they didn't break in, you would have breached the peace, and even if the police were acting as trespassing, your reaction was above and beyond what self-defence would have been.
Yeah.
Even though you were tasered, you were punched in the head twice,
Yeah.
and you didn't touch them.
And apart from the sergeant's word, there's no evidence of me swinging the club or holding the club or anything like that at all. So it was just my word against the sergeant, and from what we've heard from him on the stand twice now, I've had him on the witness stand, lying. Twice, he's been sweating.
It's serious dry mouth.
He knew he was in the shit, and he didn't know how to handle it. Yeah. And well, hopefully by now he's been suspended, and hopefully one day he won't be a copper anymore. We'll see. That's for another day.
So what do you think? Because it seemed the first judge realised quickly that you were onto something quite big here, and even though he probably weren't on your side, he was trying to do the right thing by everyone and not expose the corruption with warrants and bailiffs.
Yeah.
So he dismissed it, but then the prosecution still needed to, they didn't want to give up, did they? They needed to prove a point.
He tried to dismiss it by saying, like, this has nothing to do with the warrant argument anymore, yeah.
So then this one, they were concentrating on that.
Trying to brush it under the carpet, yeah.
And then, so you then had the first day where they didn't want to look at the warrant situation.
Yeah.
Because they were dismissing that previous case.
And also, they didn't want to show the video, the body cam video, police body cam video, to the jury. And
that's right.
Yeah, it took some convincing to actually get them to play it. And the judge in the end, he seemed to be going on my side. He had to agree, yes, it should be shown, yeah.
But do you think that had something to do with the High Sheriff coming in? Because that was a very unusual thing, right?
I haven't got a clue what the High Sheriff was about. Anyone that don't know what we're on about, you had to be there to see it. And everyone that was there, I've never seen it before. And even Tobin, he's been so many different court cases, he's never seen that, and he don't know what it's about. It's very, very strange when suddenly the judge comes in on day 2
with the High Sheriff.
With the High Sheriff, and he introduces him and all that, and he just sits there like a dummy.
Yep.
I don't know what the point is. Hopefully, someone listening can tell us what that's all about. Why would the High Sheriff be sitting next to the top judge in Mason Crown Court?
But then the day before, the judge was not interested in whether the warrant was lawful or not. He was not interested on whether the police broke in lawfully or not. The second day, we've got the High Sheriff, and we've got a number of people as well sitting in the crowd that we didn't know.
Half a dozen people turn up. No one knew who they was. Some people thought they was with me. I don't know. Yeah.
And then the judge dismisses the jury. 2 hours, gives them a 2-hour lunch.
Yeah.
And that's when he done a U-turn.
Yeah.
And then said to the Crown that they have a real problem here. He literally said, the Crown has a problem. The police used force to enter the property on the basis that the policeman understood the warrant allowed him to use force, and there's not been any proof of evidence of this. And you had a previous case where the judge dismissed the warrant.
Yeah, he said, the warrant argument, that's out the window. We're not even going to mention it, he said before. I said,
so really...
I said to him in the first time, I said, after he'd finished the case, I said, he said, "You're not allowed to use the warrant argument anymore." I said, "Well, obviously it will. It's going to come up because the police in their statements have mentioned the warrant. They believe the warrant was in date and valid, and they could use the warrant to force entry."
They believe they were acting
so
lawfully.
the warrant is going to come up, and the judge had to agree. Well, yes, maybe we will mention the warrant will be mentioned. Yes.
You see,
They couldn't get away from the warrant because that's what it's all about. That's what the coppers thought
Yeah.
they could use to force entry.
you know, and then we have the judge sort of taking, he's also guiding the jury,
Yeah.
and he seemed to have sort of sided with you all of a sudden, and he was
Well, I don't think it was all of a sudden. I think he realised all the way through, even from the first trial. But he couldn't be seen to be on my side during the first trial, even though he was part of the time. But he was more on my side in the second trial, definitely, yeah. And like I say, as it went on into day 2, he was moving away from the CPS, and he was more on my side than he was the CPS side. Yeah, not that he should be taking sides, but he knew what's gone on is wrong, and really it was an abusive process, and it was a malicious prosecution.
yes,
Yeah, but he couldn't admit that, and he didn't admit it.
So the prosecution were trying to say that you acted way and beyond self-defence,
Yeah.
that you picked up a bat, or actually initially it was a club hammer, which
A sledgehammer.
a sledgehammer.
A sledgehammer originally, yeah. That's what the sergeant said as he pulled his head back out the hole. Yeah.
And then that changed to a bat.
Or a stick or an ornament or whatever you want to call it, yeah.
And so the prosecution were then saying, when they broke into your house, the police then searched your house and they saw bricks,
Yeah.
which you're a brickie,
Yeah,
and they saw
I've got bricks in my house, yeah. I'm a bricklayer, yeah. Or when I practice bricks at night, you know.
and then and then they've got
And golf balls.
and golf balls. They found golf
I play
balls.
golf as well, so
Yeah.
why wouldn't I have golf balls in the house, yeah.
But
They thought I was going to throw them at them. Did
well,
I throw them at them? No,
no,
I had a chance because I opened the window and I spoke to the bailiff. I could have thrown a brick at him, didn't I?
but you
But
didn't.
why didn't I do it? Because I had a pile next to me.
Well, the prosecution said that you were possibly attempting to use these bricks as missiles.
Yeah,
I remember him
missiles,
saying.
missiles,
But it was
yeah,
very
yeah.
strange because at this stage, the judge stopped him and said he is entitled to stop entry at all cost.
Yeah, yeah.
So the judge was actually telling the prosecution, you're entitled.
Yeah. He was waiting for the prosecution to abandon the case, I think. But
So what the prosecution was then arguing was that there wasn't going to be a peaceful entry because you reinforced everything.
yeah, well, I can lock the doors any way I want. I can
Yeah, it's
pull
not
the
crime,
windows
is
up
it?
inside or outside. I can do what I like with my own house.
Well, you can. It is
that
your
got-
house.
What's that got to do with me being violent or anything like that? Or how can they know what I'm thinking? What I do inside my own house, as long as I'm not causing anyone any harm or loss, it's nothing to do with it.
The judge then went on to say that the defendant was not required to tolerate this unlawful entry into his home,
Yeah.
as a man's home is his castle.
Yeah.
The fact that the intruder was a police officer does not give him special
No,
powers.
exactly, yeah.
And for me, someone that's never really dealt with this, sitting in, watching, I was thinking, this prosecution gets paid a lot of money, and he was actually pretty useless. I was very surprised what they were arguing.
And obviously he's not new at it.
No.
As Todd found out, he's been a defence lawyer for 25 years. So yeah, he does know what he's doing. But it was quite strange. I was quite surprised to see him there. I've seen him in, I think it was the first trial, one of the hearings. He came in, but we had another old boy, 85-year-old, I think it was, Mr. Cherrill. He was the original CPS lawyer, but I was quite surprised that he wasn't there for this case. So maybe he's abandoned it because he knew he weren't going to win, and thought, right, let's hand it over to this one, let him have a go. So I don't know.
When the judge sent the jury out, that's when he said he didn't even want to trouble the jury because the Crown clearly messed up. Because the entry by the police was unlawful. In fact,
he told them that loads of times. Yeah, said that.
In fact, I think I've got. The police were acting on behalf of the locksmiths, where they were trying to force. And no one can, dispute you have a right. What did he say about the? I've got it here somewhere. The police used force, and so they would have to now be seen as trespassers. And the breach of peace would have been provoked by bailiffs to force entry. So any action by the police, therefore, to prevent breach, logically should have been targeted at the potential trigger, mainly unlawful entry. Absent, this is what the judge said, absent such a trigger, the police haven't advanced any evidence that there would have been a breach of peace. So this was the argument placed on you, that you breached a peace by not allowing them in.
Well, this is their argument.
And it was very weak.
Not by not allowing them in. No, that's not a breach of the peace.
No, it's not, but that's what they were trying to say, that there would have been a breach of the police if you didn't allow them in.
The police apparently were anticipating a breach of the police. From what they got from the bailiff, when he's put in his form to get police assistance for the second attempt at the eviction, and I'm gutted that I couldn't get the bailiff and the locksmith on the stand, because
they didn't want
the
that,
CPS
did they?
Definitely didn't want them there, because they must have read through what they put down and realised, well, if they come in here, we are really going to be in the shit.
The judge,
catch us out,
the judge did say that he denies the bailiffs, as it would have been detrimental evidence to this case. But I think it would have been, I think detrimental.
They dismissed it because they said, oh, that was a previous occasion, there's nothing to do with this case and the affray. But they definitely didn't want the bailiff and the locksmith in there, because that would have revealed a lot more about the wrong that they've done. And I would have loved to have got the locksmith on there, definitely, because...
So the judge said the police...
I've met a few times since.
So the judge said the police's action was wrongly targeted and forced entry was therefore unlawful, and anything attached to the warrant would not be applied to false entry. So that means the warrant did not give permission to false entry. No. And the judge then said, obviously, on the basis that the false entry was not lawful, therefore Mr. White's actions, whatever they may be or have been, need to be looked at as stopping an intruder. Where the prosecution was trying to argue, his final statement was, imagine if you're asleep in your home at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That was funny,
and someone breaks into your home, and I thought that was a very weak example. Then you have every right to do what Mr. But you didn't even hit the police.
No,
and that's
never
the thing.
touched them. As you said, they didn't have a scratch on them. I was the one bleeding and been shot, electrocuted. Yeah. Well, I would love to get hold of the transcript and see, see if it's the same. I think we will get hold of it.
The thing is, the good thing
it'd be
about...
interesting to see if it is the same as what was actually said in the court, because as we know, they do edit these things. And
they do, but the good thing about what this court hearing has is that they knew you had people in the court case, in the crowd, that knew law. They also have a very high suspicion that we were recording. Therefore, they would be very stupid to mess about with a transcript. And we can get hold of it.
I'm sure no one was recording.
Well, some people may have been doing shorthand and taken everything word for word, you see.
There was definitely no person in that courtroom recording.
No.
No person, no.
There might have been some men and women. Definitely no person.
But we should get hold of the transcript. It would be very, very useful.
Yeah,
and I've
we
got.
will do, yeah.
So if you want me to message, we've got a group that is able to get it for you and pay for it, because we know that they are corrupt. But where you had support and where there were people taking notes and where we were, not.
We definitely need to get hold of that, because it will be interesting to see. So we've got it word for word if it is all the words.
Yeah. So the police, how can, like we say all the time, how can the police uphold the law if they don't know the law themselves?
That's right, Well, they're not legally trained, so
they're not.
And they shouldn't get involved in the civil matter anyway, as they should know. And that's quite an easy one to remember, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, it's a civil matter. All we're there for is breach of the peace and any other crime. That's quite a simple one to learn.
So the judge emphasised that the jury would have to prove that your reaction was grossly disproportionate.
But grossly,
not just.
Yeah. It kept pushing it.
He kept saying grossly disproportionate to what they done to you, which it clearly wasn't. I mean, if you had to say that your reaction would have been grossly, taser twice.
I think it was the other way around, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
To be
They was grossly disproportionate, yeah.
In fact, they broke in under a fake warrant. A warrant did not allow entry. They broke in, smashed your property, tasered you twice, wrestled with you, punched you in the head twice, left you bleeding, and all you done, apparently, with no proof and no evidence, is swing a bat.
Yeah. Apparently, according to the sergeant, yeah. So,
how did you? I said this on the live the other day, but it's just amazing that on the doors of the court you've got the Latin "Dieu et mon droit," which means God and my right.
Right.
And how did you feel when the jury unanimously, because there had to be a unanimous vote.
40 minutes later.
And he said, when the judge sent the jury out, he said, you can have as long as you like.
Yeah. I said not guilty, didn't I?
Not guilty. Well, you're still here.
Unanimously, yeah.
A unanimous not guilty.
Shocked.
When the judge had the sergeant in the dock, obviously he was sworn on oath. And he did say, he goes, you was there to assist a civil matter to prevent a breach of the peace.
Well,
he says, but however, you executed a forced entry, which was unlawful. So it goes in, the way I see it is not, you was there to prevent a breach of peace, but by breaking in unlawfully, you actually caused the breach of peace.
Exactly.
And his words were, what you done, theoretically, in my words, is you was a red flag to a raging bull.
Yeah, that's right.
That was his words.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So, now...
I was quite happy with the judge, what he
was fair.
Well, the judge, I think, had to cover everybody's assets.
He's covering his own arse, obviously.
But also the banks. And the banks and the mortgage companies. And, going... I believe the High Sheriff said, look, we're going to win some, lose some, but with this one, because of the people in the crowd, you have to be very careful.
I don't know if the High Sheriff would have any say in it. I really ain't got a clue why he was there.
Well, there
was definitely a visible shift in the judge. After he left, the judge came out a different person, and that's when he said that the Crown does not recognise the warrant to be lawful, and it's only fair that the judgment, the jury are aware of this, that it is unlawful.
Yeah.
And that was after the sheriff left. Yeah. So something changed.
It was very, very strange that second day.
So now, going forward, you're doing an interview. Is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow with Michael O'Byrne, yeah.
Michael O'Byrne.
Tobe's going to be here. My Mackenzie friend, he's going to be there. We're going to do a video interview with Michael. Yeah, Tobe's going to be here as well, and probably Ted. By the way, Ted got barred from the court.
Ted is the dog.
Ted the dog, that's Tobe's dog. He's their
assistant
the KRC mascot.
Yes, he did. Now, looking back, when you were when you had your business, you had your club, and you ended up in all that debt. Looking back on all that, the loans, the debt, what do you think? Do you now see that the system is set up to put you in debt easily?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Because when I was getting these mortgages for these rental properties, it was so easy. This I'm going back like 2008, 2007, 2009. It was just a matter of signing the bit of paper, and that was it. If you had a bank account and the bank didn't object to it, no problem at all. Getting mortgage, so easy. Yeah,
It was very easy.
I know it's harder now. If you want to buy a property, you've got to have a decent size deposit now, isn't it?
But now it's all about
But it is all
people
about
not owning
getting
their
debt,
property.
and it's all about asset stripping. When the time is right, we'll take it back off you. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah.
And so now you're helping other people, as we've seen in some of the YouTube videos we've done with the repossession. Because debt is actually unlawful, really, isn't it? And it's not the wealth is not being distributed fairly, is it?
No. Well, the thing is with the banks, you go on the Bank of England website. They admit they create money from nothing. They create it from nothing. Now, if we'd done that, I've tried it myself. I've tried to pay a late payment to the HMRC, £100. So I've photocopied 5 £20 notes, sent it to them to pay the bill, and they said that right back, said, we don't accept cash. I only copied it one side, but you look on the Bank of England website, and it says they create money from nothing.
Well, that's what they do, isn't it?
That's what they do with every loan, yeah.
And Michael O'Bernasir is now, well, he's been working for years on the mortgage swindle.
Well, tomorrow when I speak to Michael, he's got a lot more idea than I have. He's been doing it so long, yeah. I'm sure he'll be mentioning that, and yeah.
Well, this is setting the sort of the precedence for people to, claim and resist what is theirs.
Yeah.
Now we have some people are disputing that, the court case victory was you obviously not being charged with the affray and with, that's what you won. It wasn't the winning of the fact that the warrant was unlawful, but they're not quite, they don't actually know the whole case that you've been. So this is more of a detailed interview so that you can explain that the courts don't want to touch the warrants. They don't want to question the warrants. In fact, they threw it out once, and then the second time the judge doesn't want to discuss the warrant because that is, a very dangerous topic to be discussing right now because it will ruin the banks. Yeah,
well, in the first attempt at eviction by the bailiffs, our mate Jeb, he tried to have a look at the warrant, and the second bailiff, he got this folded piece of paper out of his pocket, flashed it at him,
and that's
he wouldn't open it up and show him. They don't want to show you anything because they know it's a load of bollocks.
So there's going to be a party at your house. We're going to have a big party at your house, a victory party. There's a gentleman on here, his name is Vitor Ramirez, and he says he's known you since 2016. He remembers it was a very sad time what you were going through, and he hopes you're happy and keeping well.
Yeah, still fighting, still fighting resistant. Ain't over yet.
It's definitely...
I won't mention the other guys.
Yeah, but now you've sort of, through this, sometimes people say, especially, squeaky clean, or people that think they're squeaky clean and follow the law, they don't actually realise that sometimes being on the wrong side, as they put it, of the law, actually you're on the right side and learning how deep the corruption is, and then you can be there for the people who are suffering, which is what you're doing now. And you've between Toby and you.
Well, we've got a good team of people. As you know, the Kent Renegade crew it started off at, but it's more like the South East renegade crew now, because we've got a good amount of people who will support each other. Look at Randolph and Heather's one, for instance.
Yep.
There was over 20 people there, and plenty of coppers turned up. Even though they didn't want to admit it, they knew they was in the wrong, and they went away.
Yep.
And they're still back in the house. Yeah.
They're still living there, yeah.
You've got to stand up to the system, yeah. Obviously you've got to know what you're doing, what to say to them and all that. Yeah. As long as you don't do anything, cause anyone any harm or loss.
Definitely not breach of peace.
Don't breach the peace, yeah. That's a very important one, that is, yeah. Yeah. As long as you don't do that, then there's no problem. Yeah, it's in a civil matter, nothing to do with the police. Yeah.
Now, the warrants, people will say, obviously the bailiffs are coming around, that there's a bit of a dispute about what a warrant can do.
Well, if they wanted a false entry into it, they should have gone. They had to go to the magistrates and get a warrant from the magistrates to say they were allowed false entry.
And that would require a wet ink signature with the name of the judge and the case number.
I'm not exactly sure.
Because otherwise, anyone can print.
They are supposed to go to the magistrates to get a warrant to false entry. Yeah. I'm not sure all the details, but I'm sure some people will know what it's all about, and hopefully they can inform others. Yeah.
This is amazing, absolutely amazing. What you've done. I'm sorry, obviously.
It's not me. It's all about teamwork. Nothing to do with me. Well,
there's no I in team.
I was involved, yeah, but.
But you know, I think it's also using the floor plans that you used. You were able to prove the distance away from the policeman, so there's no way you could have.
Same with that. They didn't want to use that.
They didn't want to use the floor plans.
Keep pushing them to get it in there, and the judge agreed in the end.
Has anyone got any questions before I finish this? It's been amazing listening to you, and it's actually very heartbreaking as well, especially.
Yeah, I had some emotional moments there. Yeah.
And
I've done it all for my wife, Irene. Yeah.
It's just amazing, Bob. It really is, and you've helped so many people. Bear with.
Can you see that?
Yes.
That's my wife.
Oh, bless. Yeah. And you've done this for her. You keep going for her.
The love of my life.
Oh, bless. Just honestly,
You've done her proud, mate.
You did. You absolutely did do her proud. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to keep fighting. We're going to look out for your interview.
Michael tomorrow, yeah.
With Michael. Yeah. That's going to be very, very interesting. And you know what? The fight doesn't end.
No, I'm not giving up. No, the fight goes on. Yeah.
Excellent.
Until I die.
And that's many, many years from now.
They tried to kill me. And I've told bailiffs and all that before. The only way you're going to beat me is by killing me. And I mean it.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm going to turn this round quickly.
It's all about you, isn't it?
Oh, you know it.
Again, I don't know if I'll be able to post this, so if I don't, this is it. We'll have to do another one or wait for tomorrow.
Yeah,
Bob, everybody loves you.
That's good.
He is an amazing guy.
Not as much as me.
It really is.
I bet they are build up.
And it's funny how how you meet people at the moment. It's funny, you know, because we met Bob through Roland.
Yeah, it ain't been a year yet.
And
seems like I've known you for years.
It does, you know, and that's how we met him. Also, the other thing, I'm just going to shut now, but I just want to give a big shout out to Kimberly Isherwood. She's doing a fundraiser for PCP Wales, you know, the child protection, what they're doing. She's doing another skating fundraiser. So if you guys want to support her, she's raising money because of the course she's on, which is protecting the children from the school curriculum and what they're introducing, what the government's introducing. This is what they're fighting for. So shout out to you, Kimberly. Keep going, keep doing what you're doing.
Never give up.
Never give up, yeah. Never ever give up. Strength comes from the heart.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's the heart. It's from love, as Bob's love with his wife that keeps him going, and that just proves where the strength comes from.
A taser does build your strength.
I'm being tasered. Right, much love to everyone. Thank you for joining us, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye for now.